Hey guys, this video is sponsored by Apex Gaming PCs. I've partnered with them and put together my own custom line of computers and chose parts that are price optimized for fantastic performance in Apex Legends as well as many other titles. Use code CANDY for 5% off on any PC on the Apex Gaming website. Check out the link down in the description for more info. Hey guys, it's Candy. Welcome back to the channel. We'll be talking about the future of Apex Legends in this video. And since it's the last video of 2020, I figured we would talk about this year's sort of accomplishments in Apex. You know, what we've kind of seen, what we liked, what we didn't like. We'll talk about, I guess, player numbers and just general interests that I feel like I'm seeing trends for Apex. And then, my hopes and dreams for 2021. And before that, I guess I'll shrink my face cam video to kind of go over some just B-roll gameplay so you guys have something to watch while I kind of ramble on. I have a list here, and so if you see me kind of reading off my notes, that's kind of what's going on. So first and foremost, what have we seen from Respawn for Apex for the year 2020? So far, and by the way, this is sort of a preface to this whole video. I know that Des had to work from home for a lot of this year, so I believe that did create some scheduling delays as far as content. But I would say overall they did a pretty decent job at getting out content, considering the circumstances. So we have had 4 seasons, which seems like a lot. And when I first saw that, I was like, wow, that doesn't seem like 4 seasons. But yes, we've had season 4 in the beginning of the year, then 5, 6, and 7. And then we got the 4, and then each new season we had a new legend. So we had Rev, Loba, Rampart, and then Horizon. And then we only saw 2 new guns, which was the Sentinel. I think that was released in season 4, and then the Volt, which was season 6, I believe. Someone is gonna have to correct me on that one. Then we had these 7 events. I'm not gonna go into too much detail about what these events were, but just to sound them off real quick: Grand Soiree, System Override, Old Ways, the Bloodhound Trials one. Then we had the Lost Treasures. Then we had the Aftermarket event. Then Fight or Fright. Then Holiday. Then finally the Holiday event for Christmas. So 7 whole events. Some of them of which I feel were at least partially recycled. And then we also had the Steam release, crossplay, also was added, as well as new map Olympus that was also added, and duos. I forgot duos was in the Old Ways update, I believe. Duos being added, as well as map rotation. Yeah, there was a lot added in 2020. So let's go over the things I liked from Apex, and then as well talk about sort of my my personal criticisms for what I didn't really like. So what I liked. Grand Soiree, which was the first event of the year, which I actually really liked, because you had like, I don't even know how many LTMs crammed into it. It was like 7 LTMs. It was like they'll switch every 2 days, which I feel like was really smart, because in my opinion, I think LTMs generally have a pretty short lifespan. Like you have a peak spike of interest, and then kind of like after that, people kind of like move on. So I think having like, I don't know, like 5 or 7 or however many LTMs were in that event, kind of on a rapid fire succession, kind of really kept that event alive. And in my opinion, I think it kind of at least kept up viewer interest longer than most events, because it kept switching it up every 2 days. I liked all the map changes. I think the Bloodhound Trials edition was pretty unique. It's pretty cool. I liked the new Kings Canyon. Sad that Skulltown's gone, but I like the new additions to that map. Speaking of maps, I really like Olympus. Olympus is great. I really like 2 of the characters, Loba and Horizon. I'm not a huge fan of Rampart or Revenant. I like the LTMs being used for like new ideas. I think Duos was originally an LTM. They added that into a permanent mode. Same with like Evo Armor, kind of showing up in LTM modes, eventually being added in as a permanent thing. That's pretty cool. For season 5, I feel like that was sort of, middle of the year, everyone was staying home. So there's a lot of people watching Apex content. And at the time, there was also the quests, right? Which I think was really cool, because they fleshed out more of the lore. It was like a weekly thing to kind of keep people engaged. I was kind of hoping they would build out on that more, but we'll get into that in further detail. Evo Shields, I think, was a good addition, and most of the balancing updates and reworks were solid. I think I have pretty strong faith in Respawn and figuring out creative ways and solutions to make things better. I'm not saying they get it right every time, but stuff like the gold armor change, I think that was pretty cool. The Sentinel change, I think that was pretty neat. You know, how you needed just batteries, and also the damage change for the Sentinel was pretty cool. So I'm kind of all over the place on this one. The Mirage buff, I also thought was a pretty interesting, unique idea. Very creative. So yeah, most of the balancing updates, reworks, I think were solid. Going back to season 5, I like the creepy in-game teaser where you would get kind of like transported to that secret underground facility in the vault of World's Edge. For those who don't know who I'm talking about, I'll show up a little clip. And of course, all the cinematics. You know, I think lore and cinematics is a really strong point of Apex. Moving on now to what I don't like about Apex. And of course, this is, I mean, I hate how I have to say this, but this is by no means like me digging at the devs or suggesting that anyone else to take a jab at the devs. I think, yeah, I know some of the guys out there. I've talked to them. They're really smart, really talented, and they know what they're doing. This is just more of like, I guess, feedback and kind of what I personally didn't like about, you know, things. I guess just certain things that could be improved for Apex. So I didn't really like the LTMs, sometimes feeling like it was recycled content, right? So, you know, Shadowfall mode, Fight or Fright and Hollow Day. I know they made some changes, but it was essentially the same thing as last year. Obviously, it's not nearly as bad as what Overwatch does, where it's literally the same thing every year. And that game's been out since 2016. So not as bad as Overwatch, but I do see some, you know, recycled content. And I do understand that a lot of it has to do with just like time constraints and manpower, right? Like I guess maybe it'd be a bit unreasonable to expect, you know, brand new content just for like a one-off Halloween event, though I do have a really interesting solution for that. I do remember there was one event. It was like a September soiree event where like they literally used Dummy's Big Day again. And it was like nothing has really changed since the original one back in January or the beginning of 2020. So yeah, I understand they want to just put out, you know, just different stuff for players to feel engaged, but I would prefer it not to be that similar. And I guess one solution I have, or suggestion rather, would be to kind of turn the, for example, okay, for Halloween, right? Not necessarily make it like a dedicated Halloween event, but maybe have something tied into the lore that is that can be kind of used during the Halloween season. So, as an example, just say maybe they changed, they did a town takeover for Halloween, but they had it for like Revenant or Caustic, where like maybe one area of the map is just like decrepit and like dying. Maybe Revenant's like alternate, you know, Shadow Realm is taking over in that part of the map, you know, and to tie that into the lore somehow. Or maybe Caustic, you know, he did like maybe his lab blew up, or he did some experiments causing like everywhere in a particular area to like just be deformed and changed. So I think that could be a pretty creative way to spice things up, you know, for these LTMs. So instead of focusing time and energy on creating new modes or try to tweak new modes, maybe just kind of merging you know, what you got already with like the lore and like the town takeovers, and just kind of like, you know, timing it so that it's like, okay, this is kind of like Halloween themed, kind of creepy, kind of like in that vibe, but you know, still offering new content that isn't as recycled. Of course, maybe it's like not feasible from a manpower time constraint perspective, but that's just my quick solution that I'm throwing out there. Something to think about. Another thing I didn't like is, this is more of like a suggestion, like more of a critique than like a I didn't like kind of feel. So kind of take what I'm about to say with a grain of salt. But I kind of wish the lore, I love the lore. Like, that's not even a question. The lore in Apex is fantastic, but I kind of wish the lore in Apex was more focused and like integrated. you know, like more linear. Like I'm a stupid, like short attention span kind of guy, you know, like I just feel like sometimes the storytelling in Apex, while it's really strong and like really engaging, especially the cinematics, like I feel like it can be all over the place. So like, you know, you have your Twitter posts with the Loba versus Revenant showdown, and then like that was only on Twitter, right? And then, you know, you have some lore in the comics and some lore in this new Pathfinder book, and then other stuff that you kind of have to pick apart from Easter eggs, and then of course you have your cinematics. You know, I just feel like the story can be kind of all over the place, and I personally feel like I'm missing out on a lot of stuff, and I have to like go out of my way to like hunt stuff down and piece it all together. And I guess I kind of wish the story was told more cohesively, like and more integrated into the game and more linearly. I feel like the finale for the whole Ash thing kind of, I mean, it was interesting, but I feel like some of the thunder was lost with the comics. I'm not saying the comics were bad, but I just kind of wish that like it was better integrated into the cinematics. I feel like Apex's strong suit is definitely in its lore and storytelling, but I think it should lean more of its events, you know, LTMs, the gameplay elements into the lore way more, you know. They kind of did this with Horizon, kind of leaving hints and teasers in like a little mini quest for King's Canyon, for those that remember. But that was more of like an intro reveal than like any sort of overarching storytelling. So I guess that's kind of like one suggestion I would like to see in 2021 for Apex as far as on the lore front. So basically more concentrated, more like easy to understand and to pick up, and definitely tie it more into like gameplay elements. So I think that's something I would like to see. So I know I talked a little bit about like what I didn't like, and the whole lore thing kind of became like what I would like to see in 2021, but we'll get into more stuff about what I like to see in 2021 in a bit. But first I want to talk about the I guess just general viewer interest and player numbers and stuff like that. For those that don't know, since Apex was released on Steam, you can see the active concurrent user base on Steam. So let's take a look here. So right here we have the Steam charts. This is like a website we can look at current active players. This isn't indicative of the total player base. That number is much higher. But Apex is usually top 10, if not like top 15. So let's see here. Apex is number 14. It peaks at around 100,000 every day, which I think is a pretty solid number. And this is just for Steam, not even counting Origin numbers, not even counting console numbers. So you can kind of see like every day it goes up to you know, I would say 90 to 100K, and then dips down to like, you know, 50K during off hours. Again, this is not the total player base. This is just how many people are on at the same time. The actual total active player base is much higher. But if we're looking at relative, I mean, you know, Apex is doing pretty decent. I mean, I would say to be in the top 15 is pretty solid. Again, I usually see it in the top 10 during peak hours. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of where Apex is at. And this is only on Steam, this is not counting Origin, this is not counting console. So I'd imagine the player base numbers to be much higher. That being said, I do feel like the viewership side of things, at least on YouTube, have definitely tapered off a little bit, which doesn't really make much sense because, you know, Rainbow Six Siege that are doing really good in terms of, you know, viewership number on YouTube. But then maybe, I guess that maybe boils down to like the type of game Apex is. Like maybe it's a game that is more fun to play than it is to watch. For example, like Team Fortress 2 is doing pretty good right here, but I don't necessarily see Team Fortress 2 YouTube content popping that much. Same with Among Us, you know, like Among Us, like, you know, it's pretty close to Apex, but obviously it's a massive game to watch on Twitch and YouTube, I guess. So just, you know, obviously take these numbers with a grain of salt. Now, regarding the future of Apex Legends, now if you take a look at the Google Trends data, we could delve into this. So I'm just gonna take a look at the last 12 months, because if you look at since when Apex first came out, there's that giant peak at launch and then kind of just trails off, right? Generally, you can see the peaks happening at every major event or release or whatever, and then kind of dies back down, then comes back up, then dies back down. But you can kind of see a slow decline. Now, I'm not saying the game is dying or is dead. You guys, if you guys think Apex is a dead game, you guys have not seen actual dead games. Rest in peace, Lawbreakers. Rest in peace, Dirty Bomb. But that rest in peace, Hyperscape. If we take a look at Warzone, they have a pretty consistent trajectory. I mean, you do have your valleys, really, really big valleys, but you also have a pretty, obviously a pretty linear, horizontal sort of trend here. Obviously, if you look at Fortnite, it's the same kind of story. Fortnite is just massive. That's the problem. Fortnite for 2020. Yeah, Fortnite also had a period where it kind of went down quite a bit, and I would say August to October, you know, you did see a bit of a downward trajectory for about what is that, 3-4 months, right? And then kind of spiked back up. So there are things to sort of improve. The point of this isn't to like compare, like, oh man, Fortnite is doing so much better than Apex, which is you know, and Warzone is doing really good too. That's not the point I'm trying to make here. I think that I'm just more so looking at the trends, right? And showcasing that, like, yes, like you can definitely help this curve from being sort of like a negative slope and try to, like, you know, maintain a more zero neutral slope, or maybe even, you know, an upward slope. That'd be kind of nice. So I do have a few suggestions on how I personally think, you know, Respawn can improve player interest and just player engagement, as well as like bringing in new players. I think that's also really, really important. I'm just out of curiosity. I'm just curious what it says about Hyperscape. Oof. Yeah. That's not. It says less than 1. I think the first big thing is I think we need more grindable things for casual players. So you have the ranked players kind of just, you know, all day in and out, just grinding rank to get to pred, which is great for ranked players. But I think casual players, public players, I think a really cool thing would be to have maybe more kill badges, or I always suggest this, but maybe some sort of like weapon mastery track. You know, like say you get 1,000 kills on R99, you get to unlock a special R99 skin, and maybe if you get, like, you know, maybe if you master all of the weapons, you get like a special like heirloom they can use on any character or something. I don't know, something like that. You know, something that has a pretty big grindable trajectory track that I think people can really just sink their teeth into. I think that'd be really, really good addition. I think we should get more guns, because in 2020 we only got 2 guns, I believe, Sentinel and Volt. Someone's gonna correct and be like, Kennedy, actually we got this other gun, but I can't think. I think it's just the Volt and the Sentinel. I know some guns have been swapped out, like the Devo into the care package for a bit, and then the PK in the care package, R9 in the care package. Mastiff is now ground loot. So, like, I guess in some sense they can feel like new guns. Like the Mastiff is like, you know, that's a gun that you now get to use all the time that you didn't get to use before. So I guess in a sense it's like a new experience, but I'm talking about completely new guns. I think we need a bunch of new guns. I'm kind of surprised they haven't, but I'm sure they've had their reasons, probably related to loot pool constraints, because they don't want to like dilute the loot pool too much, so it's too hard to find the things you want. But now that they have the crafting system, I think they can really leverage that to kind of increase the capacity for how much loot you can put into a single map. Next thing I would like to see would be custom private lobbies, especially for the pro scene. I think that would really help flesh that out. Obviously, custom lobbies would be really fun for a content creator. Another thing I'd like to see in 2021 is more unique experiences. So this is kind of hard to unpack, but I think solos as an LTM was, like, in my opinion, my favorite one. And I know that's true for a lot of people, but Respawn isn't going to bring back solos until they can figure out how to apparently make it healthy for the game, because apparently solos had a negative effect on the player base. I'm not going to go too much into it. The reason why I like solos so much is because it introduced a completely new experience in Apex that's very different from trios. Duos, I think, was pretty similar to trios, but solos was very, very different. Some suggestions. So maybe have a LTM where you 1v1 someone, say best of 5 rounds. I think that'd be a cool LTM, right? Like, and say if you win like 10 10 matches of 1v1s, or 10, 20, or 30 matches, right? 1v1s in a row, you can get a Slayer badge or something, or maybe a custom trail, you know, different from the ranked trails, but something different. I think Overwatch did something similar to this. They actually made a map for 1v1s, if I remember correctly. For cinematics, you know, everyone gets hyped about that. We recently saw the Fight Night cinematics, which I think was freaking amazing. But I say that about every cinematic. You know, I feel like not all the cinematics can be the best, but I genuinely feel like every time a new cinematic comes out, I'm like, oh, dude, this one's the best. This one's the best cinematic. But obviously, there's a lot of hype. You know, I think it was on #1 on YouTube trending for the Fight Night cinematic. It was super well done. So I would like to see, and I don't know if this is worth it from a business perspective for EA/Respawn as far as like an ROI or, you know, return on investment, but I would like to see like a TV show or Netflix deal or whatever movie, maybe not a movie. I would like a TV series based around the Apex Legends universe, like an animation. I don't know. I think I think that could be a really cool way to kind of explore the lore some more. I don't know if that would really benefit Respawn financially. Like, I don't know if it's gonna all of a sudden convert a bunch of players to try out the game. You know, like, did the World of Warcraft movie really convert people watching the movie to play more World of Warcraft? I don't know. But that's just something I would like personally like to see. Another thing I would like to have in the game are creator skins. I know a lot of games have like creator codes, but I would like my own caustic skin, like my own candy caustic skin. I think that'd be really cool. I don't know. I think that's just something I think would be really awesome. Another thing that I think should be added should be a hardware benchmarking tool. So I'm a bit of a tech nerd. There's a bunch of massive releases for GPUs and CPUs this year. They're a little hard to get, but they did get released. But the sad thing is most, if not, I don't think any big hardware reviewer like benchmarked Apex. Maybe one. Yeah, I think Epos Fox did some Apex benchmarks, but like I think a standardized hardware benchmarking tool for Apex would be amazing. Like something like what Rainbow Six Siege does, where it's like a baked-in thing they can just run and just, you know, see how many frames per second you're getting based on the hardware you're getting. I think that'd be really cool to kind of get Apex back into people's minds, especially when they're talking about hardware and just kind of, you know, just kind of being there, you know, because like, I don't know, like I see people running stuff for, you know, Siege. I see people running stuff for Warzone. I don't even think Warzone has a benchmarking tool. Well, Warzone's also newer and a bigger game, so maybe reviewers are more inclined to you know, include that in their benchmarking tests. But I would love it. I would love it if Apex had a benchmarking tool. I would like to see a new gameplay mechanic added to Apex without changing the core too much. So you can kind of see that with the Trident with vehicles being added. I think they did a pretty decent job. But I would like to see something more added, like legend base. As an example, and I'm not saying this should be added to Apex, but just to kind of give you an idea where my head's at, is that long ago I used to play Dota. The Dota 2 introduced talents. This is after. So after I quit Dota, they introduced talents, and I thought that was a pretty cool addition. Like, it was a new aspect of the game that didn't really change its core, but kind of gave it a new spin and kind of just gave it a new layer of depth. Not saying that they should add talents to Apex Legends, but something similar to that for the guns or for the Legends. I think that'd be kind of cool. I'll let Respawn's creative juices come up with a new gameplay mechanic. My next thing is also kind of going into the kind of lore aspect, but I would like to see a different type of legend. So what I mean by that is, like, right now, all the legends are just various people with just various backgrounds kind of going for whatever reason, you know, into the Apex games to compete, you know, whether it's for fame, for money, for, you know, personal reasons, they're all in there. But what if I would like to see a new wave of legends, and maybe it's because I've been watching too much anime, but I would like to see a new wave of legends where it's like, I don't know, like the phase runner tech that they've been experimenting and using kind of like drew in a squad of elites, a new faction of characters from an alternate dimension, or maybe space, I don't know. but basically have like a different faction of legends. But maybe there aren't legends. Maybe they are just another group of characters, playable characters that have kind of infiltrated the Apex Legends universe, and they're trying to sabotage the Apex games or something. That could be part of the lore, right? But they could be new characters that we can play. And I think that could work really well in Apex as from a lore perspective. Maybe introduce, maybe you don't call them legends, maybe call them, I don't know, call them hero or something, call them villain. No, villains is so bad. See, this is why they don't pay me to work on video games. But you guys get the idea. I think a different style of background for new characters to be added to the game, instead of the usual like, hey, like I'm a mad scientist who experimented on this and I'm joining the Apex Legends because of this reason. All I'm saying is, instead of that sort of archetype of legend being added, maybe have just new characters being added as from a new faction, right? Like instead of the legends, they have I don't know, just you guys get the idea. The next thing I want to bring up is, I think ranked could be better. Right now, there's a very steep jump from Diamond 3 to Diamond 2, since you immediately get put from, Diamond, Plat lobbies to all of a sudden Master Predator. And the Preds in this game are insanely good, right? Like, these are people who have literally competed for prize money in ALGS, their pro teams. Fair number of cheaters. You can always improve your anti-cheat, but I think it can be very, it can feel like you're hitting a wall, because I feel like as a player, I'm pretty decent at the game, right? But I feel like I would hit a wall anyways at Diamond 3. And I know a number of other people feel that way. So I think, I don't know, I think that the player base, I think the reason why it is this way is because the player base is kind of small. Because if you think about it, like Diamond and up, it's like on the far end of the bell curve. Like, everyone's really freaking good. So like the pool for matchmaking is already tiny, and you got to fill 60 player games. So it's like, I can imagine it's very, very hard to find 60 players that are all like top 500 predators, right? So they do have to mix in some like, fresh meat with plats and diamonds. So I don't know. I think one way they can remedy this is to encourage more people to play ranked by, getting better ranked rewards. Because I feel like the trails weren't really ideal. The trails were kind of meh, because Respawn decided they didn't want them to be permanent. So I think just better ranked rewards would be better. Better ranked rewards would be better. Wow, Candy. Anyways, I don't know. I think the only solution to fixing this issue that I bring up is just more people in ranked, right? Like, if you have a bigger player base, it's just inherently going to, I guess, maybe improve the matchmaking experience. Because right now it's like, I mean, unless Respawn wants to make it so like Preds can only play against Masters and Preds, the queue times would be atrociously long. I don't think that's fair for Predator players either. But it does kind of suck to play as, Plat or Diamond and kind of get matched up against, the top teams in the world. I'm like, oh man. It can be, just get good, Candy. Just get good, man. Okay, listen, I'm a dad now. I don't have time. I literally don't have time to practice. And honestly, I don't even think I have the skill. I don't have the innate ability to get good enough. But I do still want a semi-competitive environment. I just don't want to, I don't know. Anyways, I think that's all I got. This recording went on for way longer than I thought. But hopefully everything I said made sense. Again, big shout out to Respawn for making an incredible game. 2020 was a great year, I would say, overall for Apex. I cannot wait to see what they got in store for 2021. I know some of the devs have hinted that season 8 and 9 are going to be amazing. So, I mean, we'll see. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Let me know if there's anything that you guys would like to see in Apex, what you guys think of the future of Apex. And I'll see you guys around.